What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the Kingsland in Brooklyn, and today we are here with Vale. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah, thank you. So, Burton A Sight is your latest record. It's absolutely brutal. Do you guys just want to give like a rundown on how the making of it and the recording of it was and everything been with it thus far?
This is always a tricky one to answer. I don't know. It always just starts with, we just start with some riffs. One guitar writes some riffs, and then we start jamming it. Another guitar, has some other riffs, and then we all collectively decide what to keep and what not and how to put it together. But anything you want to add to that?
That's about it. It's writing a song.
I feel like it's always a tricky one to answer. It's like every band ends up saying the same thing.
I've gotten quite a bit of different answers every time, but starting off with riffs seems to be the basic formula for everything.
Right,
Yeah.
I guess, some bands maybe start with lyrics and then write the song around that, but I don't think not with metal bands so much, though.
Yeah. Was there at all a preconceived idea when making this record of what you got, like a certain sound you were trying to achieve, or was there a lot of improvising involved and things kind of fell into place?
It's kind of just going on the idea that we had already been working on for the demo. I don't know if you got to hear that or not, but it's just the next evolution of that.
We did consciously decide to have a little bit of a different sound from the demo. The demo is kind of like part black metal, part like D-beat kind of crust.
Raw.
Yeah, a little more raw. And we actually had like a plan to get rid of like the D-beat influence on this and just kind of replace it with like old school death metal. So just be more of like a metal band as opposed to like a punky metal band, how the demo was.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that like this record had like a bridge between like a very raw black metal sound, but having some like Cannibal Corpse or Morbid Angel death metal style in it.
Right, yeah.
I've noticed on this record too is that there were a lot of different song lengths. There was like one song like 4.5 minutes, and then like another song that was like 8 minutes or something like that. How did you guys know when like a song was done? How did you know when to like stop it?
It's just, you don't want to force it. So it's just when the song felt done, the song was done. There's no, oh, this song needs to be 5 minutes. Oh, this song needs to be 9 minutes. Kind of just flesh it out, and once you hit a good point, it's done.
Yeah.
You know?
Like if it's 4 minutes and it seems like it's done, I don't want to be like, I want to make it longer, so let's just add some more shit in the middle, because it wouldn't feel organic that way.
Being that this material is very raw and very organic, when you're playing this stuff live, do you try to execute the material exactly how people are going to hear it on the album, or do you like to make the live presence maybe a little bit different than what people would experience just listening to your record?
I think as far as the instruments go, we don't really change anything. I feel like, Kate can sometimes play around with the vocals a little bit, like she's, figuring out a way to make it work better live than it did how we recorded it. But as far as all the instruments go, I don't think anything has really been changed at all. It's just set in stone. And
I play all my parts exactly the same as on the record.
Okay. I figure you have like the perfect bridge where it could be both like people could tell what song you're playing, but at the same time you could make it a different experience than what people would hear at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like if I don't really like when bands do that. Like if I really like a band and then I go see them and they're like, just seem like they're jamming. I don't know. I almost get kind of pissed off about it. Like, that's not what I paid to come see, but whatever works for them.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned you experimented with your sound, having both like a raw black metal side to you guys, having like a death metal side. Do you think that this could allow you to play with like different types of bands along the heavier spectrum?
Yeah, absolutely. We're, I guess I haven't used the term for us before, but since you bring it up, as far as like the types of bands we can play with, we are kind of more of like a fence walker type band. Like a lot of like straight black metal bands just get pigeonholed in that. Same with death metal bands. But yeah, I think since we draw a little from a few different, we are able to, have a wider variety of bands to play with.
Yeah. And you could probably notice a different audience when you're playing too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get people that aren't normally necessarily black metal fans, that'll come up to us and be like, I don't usually even like black metal, but you guys were great. And, but maybe it's because we had another aspect to it that like lined in with their tastes.
Fascinating. Very interesting. Now, we kind of like touched upon it a little bit in the songwriting process, but being that this record I thought was consistently brutal regardless of song length, did maybe the making of each song get a little bit easier? Because it seemed like you guys did have a formula that really worked for you guys in this record. Or was the making of each song equally as difficult?
I'd say I think the last 2 songs we wrote really quickly. You know, where we had a lot more thought into the first 2.
Yeah, I think once we got the first couple written, they all kind of just fell out.
It just fell into place, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the first few songs on the record were like a long time in the making, especially like the first 2. It was, you know, like we were working on the song for 4 months, and then we changed a bunch and completely ripped it apart, got rid of riffs and threw new ones in there, and then yeah, by the time we got to the last 2 songs, it was also just because we were like in a hurry because we had a recording date set and we didn't
not as
didn't
much,
have it
though.
all. But they came together a lot quicker
Yeah.
though. But it might not have even been that we were hurrying, but just that we were just a lot more used to, you know, anticipating like what everybody's gonna play and what everybody wants.
I think we got in the swing of things, and then it just
gelled.
Well, you know, it's actually really funny because sometimes people say that it gets really harder, gets much harder when you're well into a formula because, like, oh, does this song sound the same or this song sounds too drastically different? But you mentioned that sometimes the songs, like if you're working on a song for 4 months, it changes completely when it started. Do you have any, like, examples of that? Like, is there, like, a story behind each song, like, on how much it changed over?
Well, not necessarily. I think it was just the first few songs since the demo, since we were, you know, we were just in no hurry whatsoever, and we were busy touring on the demo and playing a lot of shows around that. So we weren't really in full-on writing mode, but we were just writing when we had the time, you know. So we had a lot more time to just be able to pick them apart, and you know, maybe I liked it like this before, but I don't even like it like this now, and so I think again it was kind of working with the new formula that we were doing since the demo.
Yeah. And the final question I wanted to ask you is because and I'm asking this probably way too early and at the worst possible time, being that, you know, Burton A Sight is just out, but do you think experimenting with your sound more since you did the demo, do you think that opened more doors for Vale to experiment with their sound in the future?
Definitely. I think James has a bulk of probably has like half the next record written already, doesn't he?
Yeah, he said he has around like 15 riffs already.
He kind of just didn't stop. Like,
yeah,
he started.
I've got a couple, but James is just always writing though, whereas I'm the more like when there's a deadline and it's like, okay, we're in writing mode now, I'll start writing. But James is just playing he's playing at home in his underwear all the time.
Yeah, he didn't stop once we finished this record. He just kept going.
That's awesome.
So
yeah.
Interesting.
I'm more of a functional procrastinator, so when it needs to be done, then I'll start writing them.
Every band needs one guy who's constantly working and one guy who just procrastinates everything, so you got the perfect chemistry right there. Yeah, and you mentioned like experimenting. Maybe we could see some duets in your style in the future, or like ballads or something like that, right?
Who knows, man? Sky's the limit.
Exactly. So before we go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time. Is there just anything else after this tour that you would like to promote for the Burton A Sight record cycle?
No. That's all we have planned for right now.
Yeah, I think when we get back from tour, it's maybe a little bit of relaxing, and then just get on writing for the next one.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. It's so great to have you guys here, and I'm looking forward. You guys are keeping the assembly line going just after putting out Burton A Sight. Awesome. Well, awesome. Everybody, this is Alex from Heavy New York here with Vale at the Kingsland in Brooklyn. Pick up Burton A Sight if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.